It's a very good afternoon. It's Niall Boylan with you for the next hour or so. Can we say a big hello, by the way, to all the people in Newtown, Mount Kennedy, who at this moment in time are standing outside protesting against asylum seekers and people seeking international protection being placed in a property in their area. Now, a lot of people might be unhappy about me saying that and saying, oh, well, no, there shouldn't be there stopping them. You know, if the government communicated with people and didn't create this division in society, we wouldn't be seeing scenes like this. And by the way, I would ask everybody involved to keep things peaceful. You have to remember the people of Ireland feel voiceless at the moment. And we're doing the same thing over and over again. We're making the same mistakes over and over again and doing absolutely nothing about it. That's not what we're going to be talking about today, by the way, but I did want to wish them well. All those people are protesting. And also the people, by the way, who are outside Crown Paints in Coolock, the community that are standing outside there, standing up for their rights as well. They also feel voiceless. People in St. John's up in Tala, where it's suggested over 2,000 people seeking asylum will be put into a premises up there as well. It's all a bit much for people to take in. You have to understand that. And what's even more shocking, by the way, is the story in the Irish Examiner today. The Department of Justice said the deportations in Ireland were highly litigious, with one asylum seeker having to be flown back to Dublin after an injunction proceedings began while they were in the middle of a flight, airborne. This is getting really ridiculous now at this stage, that we can't even deport people who shouldn't be here. And what's the minister's excuse? Oh, that's the law. Not only that, they're offering people resettlement grants. In other words, Johnny comes over here. He doesn't qualify as an asylum seeker, but could you leave the country? Nah. If we give you a few quid, will you go? Here's a load of money, taxpayers' money. Will you go now? Might you? That might cover me flight, but now what happens when I get back to my own country? I've nowhere to live. Oh, well, here's some money. Here's a resettlement grant for you. What are we doing in this country? What is wrong with people? And we got a minister who said the law, unfortunately, is not on our side. Well, then change the law. What is wrong with the Minister for Justice? Why is she in the job? We could change laws during COVID overnight when we were in a crisis or considered to be an emergency. We could change the laws overnight. If our immigration laws are not good enough to be able to send people home and deport people who should not be here, well, then change the law. It's as simple as that. I can't see any reason why we can't do that. We still have sovereignty. We still are an independent country. We still have some control over our laws. Yes, we have EU directives. We'll talk about that later. But we still have control over our own immigration laws. Those who come here, who genuinely need our support and help, who've come from war, and we're seeing a lot of that around the world at the moment, we should support them and do what we can. But those who shouldn't be here, which is the vast majority, there is no excuses. You leave the country. If you don't want to leave, we'll escort you. If you don't want to leave or you try and hide, we put you in jail. You should not be here. Immigration law and border security are paramount to any independent country. And Ireland, of all countries, should be able to do that easier than any other country because we have a sea around us, for God's sake. Most of the countries, you know, they battle with these things because they have land borders, which are more difficult to manage. We see that in America. People crawling through fences and running across rivers and all sorts of things just to get into America. We have a sea around us. So it's really difficult to get into Ireland without being caught. The only obvious way is down through Northern Ireland. And we need to make airlines... We need to make the people who are responsible for the boats back and forward to the UK, we need to make the ferries, we need to make all them responsible. If any airline is responsible for allowing somebody to come to Ireland with no paperwork, no documentation, to get off a flight with none of these documents, they should be fined. They're meant to be, but are they? I don't know. And they should be responsible financially for taking them back to where they came from, provided it's a safe country. And most of them are coming from safe countries because they're coming from other EU countries. Remember, the majority of people that arrive here from, say, Afghanistan, Georgia, Nigeria, all these places, they're not coming directly from there because there is no direct flights to Ireland, as far as I know, from Lagos. There are no direct flights from Algeria to Ireland. There's no direct flights from Albania, as far as I know, to Ireland. So they must come through another EU country, be it Paris or London or wherever it happens to be. So we should be able to do something about it. But we have a Minister for Justice who's weak, who's not willing to do it. Why? Because the NGOs are telling her not to do it. The NGOs that you are paying for. There you go. It's in the paper today, the Irish Examiner. Imagine, in the middle of the air, on his way back to whatever country he was being sent back to because he shouldn't have been here, all of a sudden, there's an injunction by some barrister who's making a fortune down at the forecourts. It stops. One appeal, you're gone. You get your application sent in, it's processed quickly, you're told whether you can stay or whether you can't. I don't know, should we even allow appeal? But you probably legally have to. One appeal, if it fails, you're gone. None of this High Court business, Supreme Court business. The Irish taxpayers are paying for that. You're paying for it out of your wages. We need to get tough on immigration in this country. We did. You remember we did get tough on immigration for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden, since this previous government came in 5 years ago, they're pandering to NGOs. Look at the amount of people that are coming into Ireland illegally at this point. And it is illegal, by the way. I know politicians argue, they're not illegal, they're asylum seekers. No, you're not an asylum seeker. You're illegal if you're arriving in Ireland with no documentation or passport. You are breaking the law. That is the law of the land. And it's the same in any other country in the world. To suggest otherwise is just madness. The idea that, by the way, on that documentary on TV3 during the week, they said everybody is fingerprinted for security. They're not. They're fingerprinted to see that they come to the attention of any other authorities anywhere across Europe. But we're not fingerprinting them to find out they've got a criminal record. That's not happening at all. We don't know who they are, half them. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is some serious crimes being committed by young people in this country. And it is despicable to see some of the crimes committed by young people who later become older people, of course. But we're asking, should juvenile records be wiped clean at 18? Because some people believe this is part of the problem. And the Criminal Justice Spent Convictions and Certain Disclosures Act 2016 reigns supreme, it seems. Within its confines, provisions exist to allow for the elimination of the clean slate of certain offences committed by juveniles, ensuring a fresh start when they reach adulthood. On one side of the coin, proponents will argue for the erasure of the juvenile convictions, advocating for the rehabilitation of young offenders into society. They champion the notion of second chances, suggesting that a clean slate at 18 can help those who run into trouble being able to hide it in the future so they don't get stigmatised and end up struggling to get a job or guard a clearance in the future. On the other side of the debate, critics will say, and they have concerns about the accountability and public safety. They will say that wiping the record clean may undermine the seriousness of juvenile offences and fail to address the root cause of criminal behaviour. In their view, a balance must be struck between compassion and the consequences of crime. If there are no consequences, well, then there's no incentive for people not to get involved in crime. Now, I'm kind of stuck in the middle on this topic. Are we really saying we should overlook, past misdeeds of our youth? Or do we, as the enforcers of the law, have a solemn duty to uphold the principles of accountability and justice? I want to know what you think. Should a juvenile record be wiped clean at 18? Currently at the moment what happens is Johnny robs a car with his mates pissed out of his head at 15 years of age. He's brought to a Garda station, he's charged, he's brought before the courts, and the judge will generally give them a JLO. And they won't get a criminal record. If they do get a criminal record, it's wiped clean from their slate when they're 18 years of age, because it's not considered to be a serious crime. Now, if Johnny murders somebody or rapes somebody, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But generally speaking, your average crime will not be recorded. It goes down as a JLO. A juvenile liaison officer will be appointed to the individual for a period of time, depending on how serious the crime is. But some people say that's no good. We're not teaching them anything. I want to know what you think. The number is 087 188 trebles. No, it's not. It's 085 100 22 55. That's the radio station one. 085 100 22 55. 085 100 22 55 is the number if you want to get involved in the conversation. All you got to do is send us a WhatsApp message. Let me go to Joe. Joe, hi. How are you?
Not too bad, Niall. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Joe, there is arguments on both sides of the coin here, that when a young person is young, when they reach 18, if we continue to allow them to have a criminal record, well, then it'll hamper their opportunities of going straight, so to speak.
Well, the way I look at this, Niall, is if they're involved in very serious crimes like robbery, murder, serious theft, or attacks on elderly people, or anyone in general, they shouldn't have their crimes taken away, what they call, they shouldn't have the thing taken away from them at 18. Because the problem is they're involved in crimes up to their neck. And see, the biggest problem here is, right, we keep putting these people in jail. You keep writing off the cases from. They're going to keep on doing this for the rest of their lives because they're career criminals. You see, they're born criminals, and when they get to, when the parents lose control of their brats, their kids, like
They're
whatever
brats. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
yeah. When they lose control of them, right?
yeah.
It's obvious that the kids are not going to behave the way they should. So, if anyone is to blame for any of this, it's the guardians, the parents. That's why people get involved in crime. Like, you know yourself. Like, I was brought up well. You were brought up well, right? But even if you're not brought up well and you're having major issues, I don't think you'd want to go down the road of committing crimes, because there is other ways you can avoid doing that. But I think that for the last 30 or 40 years, I think that there has been an awful lot of juvenile crime going on in this country.
It's getting worse. I mean, we can see the problem has got a lot worse over the last 10 years in particular, antisocial behaviour, generally speaking. And I'm talking about, people, robbing cars and whatever, involved in antisocial behaviour under the Public Order Act, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I see another thing then as well is they're involved in the drugs trade. You see now, and you notice in the last 5 or 6 years, they don't seem to be afraid of the law anymore. Like, if you were to get John or the scumbag a clip round the ear now, he could have you up for assault. And that's the biggest problem. See, we're dealing with red tape left, right and centre. But if just for a small crime, just say if it was for taking a packet of cheese or something, or it was a minor crime, and he only done it once or twice.
Oh no, I get like that would be. I wouldn't have an issue with that, if it was just robbing a bar of chocolate out of a shop. But when when I see that RTE documentary there a while ago, what was it called, The K or whatever it was called. And, there was these 3 lads who went down the motorway, pissed out of their head, 15 years of age, in a stolen car with no tax, no insurance, obviously. And they're brought, and then their auntie goes to the Garda station, to pick them up and bail them out or whatever it is. And they're sticking their fingers up to the camera. And they know they'll walk out of court with a JLO, and they know by the time they're 18 that'll be wiped clean from their slate. Whereas if that was you or me, Joe, you'd be in jail.
Oh, you would, of course, yeah. I totally agree. But to see, they were doing it because they knew they had the whole legal system.
Well, they know they're not going to go to jail. Yeah, they know they're not going to go to jail.
And they also probably had all their accommodations and everything and all their rights paid for. But to see, in the last couple of years, as you know, Niall, criminality has got worse all over in this country. And the problem is now is you can't discipline your child anymore. If you discipline your child anymore, which you should, your children are going to bring up a case against their parents, and that's very, very sad.
And well, you are right. I think young people, Joe, sorry for interrupting, I think young people have probably lost the ability to understand and appreciate authority. Joe, stay there for a second. Just let me go to Carl as well. Carl, hi, how are you?
Good afternoon. First of all...
go ahead.
Just on Joe's thing there, no one is born a criminal. No one comes into this world born a criminal. They learn it from their peers or from their mates on the street,
Yeah.
I'm like you, Noel, I'm stuck on the fence. Do you let it go or do you keep the offence? It depends on what it is. If you're done for robbing a bar of chocolate or a block of cheese as a child, you say, yeah, okay, very, very minor, let it go. But some of these little scumbags out there, like robbing motorbikes in the middle of O'Connell Street, their sentence shouldn't be struck off. No, it's staying with you. It's aggravated robbery. It's burglary. It's not going. It's staying with you for life. And if you can't get a job, that's your own fault, not ours.
Well, see, the argument against that, and I agree with you, by the way, Carl, I have little or no sympathy, right? But the argument against that is, from those who argue against it, the Penal Justice Service, etc., is they'll say that if you let, let's say Johnny, has 20 convictions for robbing motorbikes and cars and shops and all sorts of things, and then he gets to 18 and he thinks to himself, oh, well, look, this is a bad life I had, I need to go straight. There's no way he can go straight because he's not going to get a job, because nobody's going to trust him. He's never going to get Garda clearance. He has a reputation. He has 20 previous convictions. So if you leave those convictions on his account, so to speak, or in his, on his background check, well, he's going to find it difficult. So he'll just turn to crime again. And that's what they say. It makes it more difficult for them to go straight.
As I say, that's a load of poppycock. Look, there's criminals who have been in the jail. They've done their time. They've come out. They've done course and they've got themselves a job. Just because you have a criminal record doesn't mean you don't have to work. It's absolutely crap. I don't buy that for a minute. I know a couple of mates of mine that have criminal records and they all work.
Yeah.
I know one guy who was done for transporting a shipment of coke across, I'm not going to mention one of the motorways in Ireland. He got 8 years for it.
Yeah.
He's driving around as a taxi driver.
Mm.
So I mean, a criminal record doesn't mean you can't work or you can't get a job.
But it does affect the types of jobs you can get. Like, you're not going to get a job in security because you need Garda clearance.
Well, most of these wouldn't get a job in security anyway. You know all the security guards anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get the head
now, if you do have a conviction, by the way, even as an adult, after 7 years, it's wiped from your slate. It's called the Spent Convictions and Certain Disclosures Act. And it is wiped now, depending on the type of crime. It's wiped from your slate after 7 years. But getting back to young people, so you think, I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with you and probably Joe in some sense, that if you're 15 years of age, you're not stupid. You know the difference between right and wrong. This idea that we're treating them like, infants is just wrong. I mean, they know what they're doing is illegal.
Of course they do, because if you get caught the first time you do it and you're told you get a slap on the wrist or a JLO, as you'd say, you know what's wrong. You go out and do it again and keep on committing the same crime. I mean, you're not stupid. You know exactly what you're doing and you should be held accountable for your own actions. And the likes of this, if it's continuous robbery or burglary or assault, whatever it may be, no, it should go with you. It would stay with you for the rest of your life and you shouldn't be allowed to have a passport.
See, the biggest problem we have in this country is that we don't have enough jails and we don't have enough prison spaces. We have 5,000 prison spaces for the last 20 or 30 years, right, in this country, which at any one time, it's full. As you well know, there's 2 and 3 people to a cell. There's people sleeping on mattresses on the floor. So in other words, the jails are constantly full. We still haven't had one single government, apart from Bertie Ahern, actually, who suggested it in, Thornton Park, that we were going to build another jail. We need another jail. Because the problem is, when these lads come before the judges are well aware, they're told on a daily basis how many spaces are left in prison. So you got lads who are being let out early just to make space, who shouldn't be let out. And then you've got people coming up before a judge, and the judge says, well, I don't have enough prison spaces here, so I'll just give them a suspended sentence. And that's the problem we have currently in society, that scumbags end up... I mean, when you see the story about, say, some guy who beats up an old lady, and you see in the paper he had 94 previous convictions, you're saying to yourself, how is he even on the street? Because we don't have enough prison space. That's why.
Yeah, no, and it's right. I mean, that Thornton Hall is still sitting out there.
Yeah.
Government
biggest waste of money ever, yeah.
Yeah, 86 million I think they spent on it. And that's the security guards on that 24/7.
We should build a jail there. Why aren't we building a jail there? We could spend 4 billion on Ukrainians last year. Why can't we build a jail in Thornton Hall? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. We're building accommodation like it's going out of fashion at the moment. Why can't we build a jail?
Because there's a bunch of clowns in government. That's the reason why. Just they just can't decide what to do or what not to do. As you said in the last couple of shows, look, we need, someone who's like, and the Minister for Justice, Jesus, God fucking help me, but that girl or woman needs a fucking good looking at because she's absolutely hopeless. I mean, and that Judge Nolan, I must say.
But I don't talk about that on the air if you can, because obviously the judiciary are separate to the state, and we have to be very careful what we say. Okay, we're very careful. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand Judge Nolan has come up for question a lot of the time. A lot of people are not very happy with the sentence he gives out. I don't understand exactly what the sentencing is and what the minimum sentencing for all those kind of particular types of crimes. But in saying that, I know people have questioned, why there seems to be a level of leniency with that particular judge. But maybe we're looking at it in an isolated way. You would have to look at all the data for all the sentencing of all the judges all the time. Maybe that's just the one that comes to our attention a lot because he deals with most of those cases. Anyway, stay there for a second, Carl. Let me just go to John. John, hi, how are you?
How you doing? Look, this whole thing, you have the governments down through the years now, and basically they're out of touch with the people. They don't want to be in touch with the people. They don't care. It's all about the next election. From the very young to the very old. Even today, was announced here in Middleton, a daycare centre which deals with people up to their 90s now, some of them in wheelchairs. And it's because on account of the embargo, now the HSE, it is closed now. And those people are devastated. There was a school in Glanmire up the road, was promised a special wing was going to be built for special needs children. They've been told today that it's put off for the foreseeable future. So this is supposed to be the caring government now, Mr. Harris now, that's in touch with everyone all of a sudden and is going to help everybody from the old to the very young. The new caring
when we're flinging away money, you know what I mean, when it comes to immigration, when we're just, I mean, when I read that story today, by the way, in the Examiner, about, people who are being deported are offered grants for resettlement grants, right? When we're throwing taxpayers' money recklessly away like that, I can't understand how we're not making money available to worthy causes like the ones you've just mentioned, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, when we're spending a fortune on dogs and cats like for Ukrainians, right? And the elderly people know in Middleton area have nowhere to go, and it's the only thing they look forward to. When the special needs children, their parents and the kids are looking forward to that extra wing being built on, they'll have to be left down. These people are out of touch.
Absolutely. We'll move on from being out of touch. 18-year-olds, should they have their slate cleaned?
Yeah, unless there's a very, like somebody using a knife or whatever, or dangerous driving a car or whatever, serious crime, I think should stay with you. If you're 16, 17, you should basically know some of the callers have said, what the hell?
Yeah, but what's a serious crime? Is robbing a car a serious crime?
Oh, it would be a serious crime.
Well, if you rob a car in Ireland and you're 16, you're not going to jail. You get a jail out.
I know. But you see, what's wrong? You see, the whole thing is we haven't I know people do social work, no, right? They reckon the whole country we need 5,000 social workers. Are we going to get 5,000 social workers? No. There are pockets of areas in this country where some of the same people keep coming from all the time, families ending up in court with their grandfathers, as John Lanigan, the former governor of Mountjoy, said, he's seen 3 generations coming in when he was there. Mm. No, didn't no one ever kind of say, like, how is this happening? How is that 3 generations of the one family coming into the same prison? I mean, nobody gave a shit. They never went in and tried to turn these kids around and got them on course.
But we have a huge lack as you know, Garda Síochána in this country. And with the lack of Garda Síochána, we have a lack of communities policing. So we don't have the local, community guard in every area anymore to look after, who can spot these young fellas just as they're starting to get bad, who can intervene. You know what I mean?
That's the problem. We had excellent community guards here in Cork now, and a lot of them are on desk duty and stuff like that now, or they've been moved to other areas, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I remember we used to stand on the corner talking to Smiley. He was a guard from Coolock when I was a young fella. And he'd be telling us all about the cells and what would happen to people when they went to jail. And he'd be frightening the shite out of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? He'd be telling us all about these.
Frightening the shite in a nice kind of a way.
Yeah.
Say to lads, if you don't cop yourselves on, this is what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But you see, there's none of that out there now. And basically, they wonder, like they built a big, massive extension to the courthouse here in Cork some years back there. It cost millions, And as I said to 2 guards one day, I said, Jesus Christ, they said that they put that money into the disadvantaged areas and where there's troubled kids and trying to turn them around, and special units and people that would train them and instructors. Wouldn't it be better off than having them going into the same bloody building with a new extension and the free legal aid, people making a fortune, I mean, if you don't address it, nothing will change.
Okay, well, do me a favour, stay there for a second. Let me just go to Suzanne as well. Suzanne, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall. Good morning. I'm listening to your show all morning, and your beginning was amazing. And I think, as that man already spoke earlier, there's so many other causes going on. But I'll stick to the topic today.
Yeah.
But I think wiping clean 18, I'm a bit like you. I think the charges need to stick. I'm listening to all the points here, and I suppose there's so much stuff going on about not enough jails and not enough police. But I suppose there's a bit of me saying that if somebody reaches 18, depending on the level, the severity of whatever they've committed, there's a bit of me saying, I get where people are coming from to try and give them a chance if they do wake up and have an awakening at 18. But for me, it would be a very strict, 18 to 21, if they can prove between 18 and 21 that they've turned their life around. But basically, I agree with everybody else. I don't think you can commit well, I don't need to commit all those crimes and just walk away and it's wiped from your slate. But when I'm listening to all the lack of services everywhere, there's a little tiny bit of me saying that we do fail a small minority of these kids because there is no. I mean, I'm taking accountability as adults in Ireland. There is a bit of services just not there for them, so it is a kind of a double-edged sword. But primarily, I don't agree with them being wiped. But I would be, open to some. Application for, I've been working for 3 years and I've committed no crime. Can my previous be wiped? Say they want to go to college or do something. But primarily, I'd be sort of sticking with your side.
See, the problem I mentioned earlier on, I mean, you have to have compassion and you have to have understanding and you have to try and, turn people around at a very young age because they become the criminals of the future. But you also have to have consequences. Because unfortunately, if you don't have accountability and consequences, people are going to commit crimes. So your average 16-year-old who robs a car with his mates and gets pissed and drives down the wrong way down a motorway doesn't care. Because the reason he doesn't care is because he knows he's not going to go to jail. We used to have juvie in this country, as they used to call it, juvenile jails. And that was St. Patrick's. I don't know if they had one in Cork as well. Did they have one in Cork, John, years ago? A juvenile jail?
Well, what they had was kind of farm schools and stuff like that, but they're long gone now.
Yeah. Now, I know we still got Oberstown, but that's Oberstown is only for serious criminals.
Unfortunately, a lot of the youngsters, like in Cork and other places, that went into these places, I mean, instead of helping them, they beat the crap out of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, St. Pat's was part of Mountjoy. And, and that was for the young offenders. And, Suzanne, part of me believes we should have something like that back again. So it's like a boot camp system like they have in America, where they actually do get detained, where they actually do get some discipline, kind of put into them in some way or another. Because if you're going to just let them away with it, they will continue to do it. This idea of a JLO, they almost wear that as a badge of honour at this stage. It's kind of pointless. And then they get all that wiped clean, and they know they're going to get it wiped clean when they're 18.
But no, that goes back to the government just flushing money away on stuff like, housing Ukrainian pets and not putting the money into. Like, if somebody commits an offence at 16, as you've spoken about, they need to go to jail. When I hear this, there's no spaces in jails, again, my blood boils.
Oh,
everything about this country, my blood boils at the moment. So it's, again, to me, if somebody commits a crime at 15, 16, does a jail sentence, if that, helps them in any way and there's no more crime, yes, I can see that case. But where do you start? We need jails. We need a new government. We need everything in this country.
We need a lot, Suzanne. We need quite a lot at the moment, yeah. We need good public representation. We need good public representation. That's what we need.
We need good public representation.
The shortest living Taoiseach ever will sort it all out.
Well, now, I kind of have a bet on with a good friend of mine who's actually in politics, and I have a bet of 3 weeks. So, I don't know. It's only a 20 quid bet now for 3 weeks. I think Simon Harris will last 3 weeks.
Oh, Jesus. Well, he only got in at the 15 count. He got in at the 15 count the last time, so I say he won't even get in the 115th this time.
Well, you know what Fine Gael are going to do now, between now and the budget, and you already heard Michael McGrath suggesting in the budget there's going to be a bit of a giveaway, right? So they'll soften and sweeten everybody up now over the next 7 or 8. They don't want a general election right now because they need to soften you all up first. So unfortunately, we suffer from national amnesia in this country. So we forget very quickly. Yeah, we forget very quickly.
Yeah, because I was switching over this morning there now on one of the local stations there was a woman sending a text message and she said, what we need in this country, you hear this bullshit all the time, we need a revolution. Yeah, okay, let's grand. Why don't she start it so? Well, no, somebody else must start it, but she won't start it.
See, people are afraid. The problem is that, people like you and Suzanne and everybody else and Bernie, who's going to be on in a minute, Morris, people are afraid because they don't have anybody on their side in government. That's the problem. So the government are against them. So as soon as you do something or say something, for example, about migration, or you say something about education in schools and, this kind of idea of biology, or of ideology, not biology, and you say anything about anything like that, you're immediately labelled as some sort of right wing. So that kind of just shuts you up for a while. So you've nobody on your side.
Anymore, Niall. No, I think people like you and Gript have really encouraged people. Like, I know within my group of friends, most people now are happy to have open conversations, and it's much clearer. And I totally agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of people in Ireland would pay €20 per head to have Simon Harris gone in 3 weeks. I personally would. I think
we'll throw it out there. We'll have a whip round.
Build a jail with the money. We'll build a jail with the money. No, but I think now there is a consensus. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying this honestly. I try and go to the protest to support them. I was up in Coolock 2 weeks ago twice. I'm not just saying this.
Yeah, no, fair play
that
to you.
I think in fairness, it's not fair that people in Coolock and Finglas and Newtown and Kennedy, I really admire them. They get out and they speak up for
I support
the
all of them. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always going to be a very small element of head cases in those protests, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they make everybody else look bad, right? But the majority of people, the vast majority of people at those protests are just concerned citizens who feel, as I said numerous times, they feel voiceless. They feel like nobody's listening to them. They feel like they're not being communicated to anymore. So that's what's at those protests. They're not a bunch of right-wing lunatics. There are people who just don't understand what's going on, and they want to understand. And most of those people want to help genuine people, but they don't want to help the world and its mother come into the country. That's what they don't want to help.
No.
Well, stay there for a second, John and Suzanne. Let me go to Bernie. Bernie, hi, how are you?
I'm grand, Niall. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Mind you, I was a bit perplexed earlier on. I was reading that story in the Irish Examiner about a plane in the middle of the air with some lad being sent back to whatever country he came from illegally in this country, and all of a sudden, because it's a high court case, the plane is turned around with him on it. I mean, look at the waste of taxpayers' money there, and some barrister making a fortune.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I don't understand. Why would you turn the whole lot around, delay people? People couldn't.
Because the minister said the law is on his side. Well, I say change the law.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, here's the deal, right? It's straight out. You get a deportation order. You've already gone through the process. We know who you are. You're not suitable. You don't qualify as an asylum seeker or somebody who deemed necessary for economic or for international protection. There's your deportation order. Get out of the country or you're going to jail. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't be simpler.
What's self-deportation? I've never heard of such a word in my life.
Self-deportation is where they hand them a deportation order. They go back into the iPass centre. They say, did I qualify? No, you didn't. Sorry, here's a deportation order. Off you go now. Thanks, see you, bye. And that's it. And they asked the Minister for Justice how many people leave the country after being self-deported or given a deportation order. She doesn't know. They don't check it. So all that happens is Johnny from Algeria or Albania or Nigeria or wherever they're from who didn't qualify as an asylum seeker gets a deportation order and then just goes AWOL in the country somewhere.
Oh, I want to vomit. I'm so annoyed at this stage now. I'm sick of it.
Oh, yeah. Go on. Getting back to young offenders. We need a voice. That's what we need. Yeah.
Okay, so
it's coming.
The only case I have to mind is a 40-year-old person belonging to me who inadvertently, when he was working in a shop years ago, served an underage person. And the police were called. And unfortunately, to this day, I didn't know anything about it, and the poor child forgot all about it and is now in their 40s. And unfortunately, they went for a job there with Erin or they were one of them, and they were declined, even though they'd made it through all the stages, because this record was still open.
Wow.
Now,
that's unusual.
The person never committed anything else, hasn't done anything else.
Well, if you know that person, you can tell them that they can make an application, and they should, that since 2016, anything past 7 years, as long as it's considered a minor offence, can be removed from their record under the Spent Convictions and Certain Disclosures Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is the ridiculousness of it. Like, made a mistake in, as you know, in a busy, I know myself, I worked in shops and,
it's hardly the crime of the century, yeah.
It's not like you did. People come in looking for cigarettes and you not always do you think on the top of your head to say, oh, can I see your ID?
Yeah. I know that can happen.
But it shouldn't be held against you for the rest of your day as a record.
No, not at all. Well, so that can be removed.
That's where I think things are ridiculous. Like, if a child, and if somebody breaks into your house at 16 years of age and beats up the crap out of you or steals all your stuff, that's not something that should be wiped clean. That was a serious offence. You traumatise somebody for life.
The chances are that 16-year-old that commits that crime won't even go to jail, by the way. They'd be given a JLO.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing.
And they could probably do it 4 or 5 times and still only get JLOs.
Look, there's a poor woman today whose car was jacked in Dublin, I think, an elderly person. Like, it's terrifying to be out there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, and what'll happen to that lad? He won't even get to prison.
And the problem is, and as I said to Susanna, if there's no consequences to their actions, they continue to do what they're doing. They'll just continue to do it. I've heard young fellas, on the show and what have you, on the radio as well coming on, and they almost seem proud of the amount of JLOs they get. It's almost, they had this, in England they had this similar situation. They weren't called JLOs in England. I can't remember what they were called in the UK. Something similar anyway. ASBOs in England is what they call them. And like these young fellas, you know, these kind of chavs as they call them, they were almost proud. Oh, I've got 4 ASBOs, you know, mate. You know, they're kind of proud of these ASBOs. They're like badges.
But I mean, I don't know what I know people. There doesn't seem to be any control anymore. Like, I mean, you were afraid of the guards. I was afraid of them. You respected them. If your man told you, you know, you did something wrong, you'd be terrified that your parents. You would be absolutely worried. We had a good understanding of right and wrong, and you know, to respect the police. There doesn't seem to be any respect for any law-abiding anybody anymore.
I mean, if a policeman ever came to the front door of our house, which had never happened, by the way, my father would have tied me to the door of the bedroom. I wouldn't have been allowed out. But the problem you have nowadays is drug dealers and other crime gangs are now using children, as we well know, places like Ballymun. They're using children to carry drugs around because they know there's little or no legal consequences for children doing these things.
Well, is this where as a society now we have to step up to the plate? Us parents, us grandparents, us people, and just more or less take it into our own hands and start saying, no, enough is enough. This is bullshit. Let's go for it ourselves. Because obviously it's out of control and we have to, some way it has to rein it in.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a community or as a society, we have to do something ourselves because it's them gobshites upstairs aren't ever going to listen to us. Ever. Unless you're Ukrainian or a non-national, they'll listen to you. But they won't.
I'm identifying as Ukrainian, as in from tomorrow. I'm actually identifying as a female Ukrainian under the age of 18. That'll cover me for everything. Suzanne, have you ever been a victim of crime, by the way?
Have I ever been the victim of crime? I haven't, Niall. But I remember walking down Balls Bridge a number of years ago. I was having dinner with friends, and 3 guys came towards me, ready to headbutt me, looking for a cigarette. Oh. And I'll tell you, I roared at them at the top of my voice, F off, as loudly as I could, and they ran. And I'm not saying, I mean, I live in an area now where we do have asylum seekers, and there is a little bit of, you know, angst. But I'm saying I am very careful about where I go, what I do, and all that stuff. Thankfully, I haven't, Niall. But to that lady's point there, that was kind of my point. There's probably a lot, there's probably a small minority of youths who do stupid things or don't think about the consequences. And as that lady said, at 40, didn't realise that's the kind of stuff the 7-year thing will work for. But again, going back to the government, Niall, when I hear like the story this morning on the airplane, when I hear that we just need a jail, like it just makes my blood boil. And I think, you know, if they had 1 or 2 jail sentences, not all, but there's a minority of them would come out. I don't know whether you've ever heard of a guy called Wayne Hart. I knew Wayne as a child. Wayne has turned himself around, and he was on a TV program. I knew him through somebody who knows him. There is chances, but I think if they're walking away and they're just, you know, a badge of honour, we're going to look.
Yeah, what about the old Bloomberg thing when he was the mayor of New York? What was this? 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah, 3 strikes and you're out, and that's it. But I think, you know, I'm sorry, I'm so fired up about the plane this morning and your man, the court thing, and also listening to your show at the beginning. Niall, I think you could have show after show every day, and you could probably have hundreds of people coming onto your show voicing the same opinion about what's going on at the moment. That's my view.
Yeah, we'll say that. Let me just go to Morris as well. Morris, hi, how are you?
Niall, how are you doing?
Keeping you. Yeah, what are you doing in Portmarnock today? Beautiful part of the country, yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a bit of lunch here. I was doing a bit of walk in the area, so I said I'd come over and have a look. And there's a guy just after coming out of the sea there, had to be swimming. On this beautiful, windy day. You know,
I spent a lot of time in Portmarnock because I used to work, of course, in the Sands Hotel there, you know.
Yeah. It's a lovely area. Everybody's out walking. Very wild, though, at the moment and cloudy. But listen, I was talking to the researcher earlier on, and we all do stupid things from 13, 15, 16, you know, and like hot smoking cannabis or having a bit of hash or getting a lift in a stolen car or something like that. You don't realise the consequences. So I think if somebody goes, say, from a young age up to about 20 and they have a clean sheet, they didn't come to the police attention again, they've only 1 offence, 2 at max, I clean them and let them go because nobody should be really
when you say we've all sat or took a lift in a stolen car, I've never taken a lift in a stolen car, Morris. If you're 16 and you take a lift, but if you're 16 and you know it's a stolen car, you know the difference between right and wrong. You're not stupid.
Sure, kids used to listen. Kids in where I grew up, we used to steal a car to get a chase off the police.
And did you ever take? Did you? Oh yeah. Did you take a car? Did you steal a car?
Oh, no, I didn't steal a car. I was in a stolen car, and I got caught.
And were you terrified?
No, you just got prosecuted by the police, and I got a hiding. I got a clatter in the head, and I never went near a stolen car.
And your ma boxed the head off you?
Yeah. My dad did, my ma didn't.
Yeah.
So you learn by stupid mistakes. And it was a mob mentality as well. Everybody was at it, you know. But like some of the guys that were at us at the time, we weren't boy racers. We weren't these fellas flashing cars. You just stole a car, and if the police seen it in the area, they'd give you a chase, and then you just abandon it and jump out. And the copper would be running after you. Like 13, 14,
and
15,
did you
think you're full
but did you have any kind of a concept of the victim of that crime, the person who owned the car, who might be paying for it through a loan?
No, because you're immature. You don't realise you see something and you want it. You know, like you mentioned once or twice that you smoked a bit of cannabis when you were younger. Who didn't? Everybody tried something once, you know.
Yeah.
Then other people went on to harder drugs. But I think somebody from the age of say 15, and then they don't come to the police attention ever again. One incident, whatever. You know, but like I said, there is violent children in this world at 13 and 14 that have killed and are in jail because of it. You couldn't do anything with them. They're murderers, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if there's no consequences, as I was saying to Bernie there a minute ago, if there's no consequences constantly to you doing things wrong under the age of 18, you're never going to learn, because there's no, I mean, this JLO business is pointless. They don't give a shite about JLOs. So, I mean, if you've got like 5 or 6 JLOs or whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't care. It just means they have to call around to the police station every now and again and sign something and say hello. You know what I mean? It means nothing.
Oh, I understand that, yeah. Well, like I said, it's the hardened criminals at a young age realise, well, the cops, they want to...
But Morris, in your day, if a fella robbed a car at 16 years of age, he ended up in St. Pat's.
Oh, you got a warning, yeah. You were given probably the probation order. It was your first offence, do you know what I mean?
And second time you went to Pat's, and then we got rid of Pat's altogether. Now we have Oberstown, but that's only for serious crimes. So we don't put young offenders in jail anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I never thought I'd live in a country like this little country of ours where an individual was charged at murder at 14 years of age. You know? See, it's got worse, if you know what I mean. But anybody that makes this...
But I do know that the Minister for Justice, going back a while ago, I think it was around 2016, I think it was Frances Fitzgerald at the time, said that she wanted to change the age of criminal responsibility to 18 years of age. Now, at the moment, it's 13, by the way. She wants to change it to 18.
Not at all. So the criminal age in America, in England, I think is 10.
I think it's 12 in the UK. Yeah, 12. He's a year younger than him.
I thought it was 10 or 12.
I know. I get my producer to check now, but the age of criminal responsibility.
Yeah, because when Jamie Bulger was murdered by Reynolds and the other fella, they charged them with murder because of their age.
Yeah, they charged them as adults. Yeah, they charged them as adults. Yeah.
Like, there's no hope for people.
I think when you know. Yeah, I think it's 10. You're right. It's 10 in the UK. I think it's 12 or 13 here. But I think when it comes to murder or a serious crime like that, it doesn't really matter too much about the age. Bernie, would you agree with that? The idea of moving the age of criminal responsibility to 18 years of age?
Well, I'd have to look at it long and hard now, because some people are premeditated, and they're premeditating at 14 and 12. Like, you know, I don't know. I find that a very hard one to call it, I'm honest, because I think some 14-year-olds are lethal. They're not for turning. You've seen them, and they're, you know, and do they get away scot-free because they're only 18? No, they shouldn't. There should be there has to be some way of recourse. You can't let a 14-year-old away because, you know, they're not mature. They obviously, if they murder someone or they kill somebody or do serious harm to someone, they obviously are responsible in some shape or form.
Okay, well, stay there for a second. Let me just go to Lewis. Lewis, hi, how are you?
Hiya, Niall. How are you?
How you doing, Lewis? I enjoyed your message today, by the way.
No problem at all.
Yeah, you said, what was it you told me? When you do something wrong, you just blame your autism, and that's grand. Yeah.
That is. Like, Niall, I think personally, right, like younger, like people that do serious crimes should be put into prison for life. I think, like, the way the prison system is in this country is too soft on these prisoners.
Yeah.
They need to be like more like America. If you do something like the first time, you go to prison for like 27 years.
For serious crimes, for serious crimes. Yeah.
And I think they'd learn from that. Coming out of an older age, they've learned what prison is like. That prison ain't for them. They want to be more nice.
So if
and
I
more kind.
okay, let me give you an example, Lewis. I'm 16 years of age, and me and me mate rob a car, and we drive it, and the guards catch us. So what should happen to me?
You should get arrested and be put into an adult prison to see what it is like. I don't agree with always saying children like.
But you couldn't. I don't know whether you could put kids in, 16-year-olds. I suppose that they are young adults, but I don't know whether you could put them into an adult jail. Whether that would be appropriate, because then
I would.
Yeah, you would. I wouldn't be far behind you with certain ones. All right, yeah.
Let me tell you this: why I would put him into an adult prison, so they can learn from adults, and adults can tell them what it is like living in an adult prison, fights and everything going on in an adult prison. And the kids would have to learn how to defend themselves and learn like everything, like how adults live in an adult prison. Because I think it would teach them a lot, and it would make them want to go, like it would make them learn a lot of cop on, don't like mess with other people.
Yeah.
And then they come out like being perfect.
Yeah, I do get you, and I can see where that would be valuable. Do you think, by the way, people who kind of rack up a few JLOs as kids should have that wiped off their slate when they get to 18 years of age?
No, I don't. No, I do
should
not.
be left there?
No.
So deal with the consequences of your actions, in other words, is what you're saying.
Consequences of the actions, otherwise.
Interesting. Okay, Lewis, thank you for that, Lewis.
I'd like to just tell you something really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know that you were talking about on Late Night Live on Thursday, it was? You were talking about like what age is considered elderly.
Yeah.
The thing is, to me, I think is considered elderly is 75, I personally think.
75?
75.
Well, that, at least me and Bernie are not near that yet anyway, so...
Thank God, yes, thanks, Lewis. I appreciate that.
I'm happy to know I'm not elderly yet. I've often wondered what elderly is. Some people say it's over 65. Yeah, Lewis.
You're only 21 now.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I've taught my children for years.
21 now.
Thanks.
That's what you look like. And by listening to Bernie and Morris, they sound about 21, 22.
Oh, thanks.
Lewis, you've made Bernie's day. Listen, thank you very much indeed, Lewis. I appreciate it. Let me go to Lorraine, who sounds about 70. Lorraine, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Lorraine, I mean, okay, should we wipe the convictions off, under 18s or teenagers when they get to 18?
If you're prolific, like little Johnny Rotten's out there every week, out robbing a car, out robbing a shop, he knows all he's going to get is a JLO, as you said, it's a badge of honour. No, the likes of that, no. I think when he hits 18, he should do time in prison. If he has, say, 40 or 50 convictions under his belt, stick him in prison when he turns up for his 18th birthday and go, see how you are now, pal.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. See how you get on now. But the life of a young lad who's made one stupid mistake has gone out and he's proven that he's done probation and he's proven he hasn't done anything. Say 15, he went out and robbed a car one night, showing off a bunch of his mates.
Yeah.
And then he did the probation, he hasn't been in trouble since, he's done what he's meant to do. The likes of him, yeah, it should be clear. But the likes of Johnny Rotten, no, I think at the age of 18, stick him in an adult prison and be like, there you go, pal, that's where your life is going. It shouldn't be completely wiped. If you're out doing, say, if you've got 40 convictions behind your back, what's the incentive then? If you wipe that clean, they're just going to go right.
They'll argue, the penal service will argue that, if you leave those convictions there over the age of 18, they will struggle, to get a job, to get Garda clearance or Garda vetting for a job or get into college, or because people look at your back, do a background check on you, and they see what you're like.
But Niall, as you said, it's you're at that age, at the age of 15 and 16, even 17, you know right from wrong. You know if you're going to rob a car. That's what I mean. If you're going to rob a car, you know, shit, I'm going to get in trouble. But what's the incentive then? If, I'm going to go out and rob a car every Saturday night, it's going to be cool, and then get my JLO, and that'll be it. No. If you're out a prolific robber or prolific young lad, stick him in a prison, then when he turns 18, he'll be like, there you go, that's where your life's going, pal.
Did you ever, by the way, have you ever committed a crime?
Have I ever been arrested?
Yeah.
Once.
Oh. What for?
No, it was for nothing like that. It was for drunk and disorderly. I was stuck in the drunk tank when I was 17.
What, to start a row with somebody?
I was in Kilkenny and my cousin got into a fight, and when didn't realise who she was fighting, I turned around and swung, and it happened to be a guard I swung at.
Oh, right, okay. And by the way, Bernie, did you ever get arrested?
No, I lived in a house with a Garda sergeant. I don't think so.
All right, okay.
That's
right. So the only handcuffs that were going on, we won't talk about. That was in the bedroom.
No way, you were going out of line in that house.
Yeah, Lorraine, are we too soft on teenagers? Because I mentioned Bloomberg earlier on there, who was the governor or the mayor of New York at one stage, and he had brought in this. Was it California? I'm thinking Rudy Giuliani could have been actually New York. And the 3 strikes and you're out. So it was like you could have, say, rob a car, nothing happens, you get a suspended sentence, and then you say you beat up a woman, and nothing happens, you get a suspended sentence, and then you rob a hairdryer, and on your 3rd conviction, even though it's something minor, you do the whole lot of the time for the other 2. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you go to jail for 20 years for robbing the hairdryer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but your 2 convictions before that warrant you being there for 20 years.
Yeah.
I think the three strikes you're out. I think the young lads nowadays think it's a badge of honour to have a JLO. That think it's hilarious to go out and rob a car and fly down the wrong end of the motorway on it and think, oh, look at me, I'm fucking deadly. No, we are way too soft. And it starts at home with the parents as well. Like, half the parents don't even know where the kids fucking are.
See, but I don't understand is that somebody said to me one night in the air, oh, Niall, you think must be Mr. Goody-Goody. You don't know where your kids are, like when they were 15 or 16. I said, I always knew where my kids were. I knew where they were all of the time. Oh, no, you think you do. And I go, no, I knew where they were. I knew exactly where they are. Like the same with my stepdaughter now. She's 14 years of age. I know exactly where she is all the time. We know where she is.
My stepdaughter, my 13-year-old stepdaughter, I know where she is every waking moment of the day. She can't hide. But you know what I mean? If you have control of your kids, like my 11-year-old's not allowed past. He knows his limits in our estate, like where I can see him, or if he's around the corner of my friend's house. But other than that, he's not allowed.
Is he allowed to hang around like street corners or shops or anything like that?
No.
I'd have killed my kids if I caught them hanging around outside a shop.
It's pure scummery to stand outside a shop. If you stand outside a shop, you're going to get a name for yourself as being a scumbag, or look at them, they're causing nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
And you mightn't even be doing that, but you'd have that reputation because you're standing outside a shop or standing around. No, I just think the three strikes you're out rule, or even as Heather said, if little Johnny Rotten has 30 convictions by the time he's 18, stick him into Joy and see how fucking happy he is when he comes back out.
Okay, well, stay there for a second. Let me go to Nuala as well. Nuala, hi, how are you?
Oh, not too bad at all now. I don't know why people think that jail is the answer to making people better. I think it just makes people worse. I was on a jury once, and there was a lot of young fellas brought up it was complicated, and I think
were they serious crimes? Were they serious crimes? Yeah.
Well, when you have a jury, you see it was a possible serious crime, but I mean the barrister that they had would get anyone out of hell. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah. The barristers always do the same line. He's had a bad background, Your Honour. He was abused as a child, Your Honour. He's now got a job, Your Honour. He's doing really well. Don't give him a custodial sentence. Yeah, we know all that. We've heard it.
Yeah, but I was thinking at the time, if these young lads land up in jail, they're going to come out, they're going to learn a lot more crime inside. They're going to come out worse than they went in. So I was kind of,
So what do you do with them? What do you do with them?
That's the dilemma. Well, I think what has happened in Ireland is that we have shuffled everybody towards third-level academic type of careers, and we haven't allowed for people who are kind of like giddy, but if they were doing a job like, plastering or doing something like that, the energy would be used up, and if you had to go do an 8-hour day, you don't have time to be going out robbing things.
Well, not every bloke that's in prison wants to get a job. Not every bloke that's in there wants to sit in a course and get a job. What do you do with the likes of them?
We see, because they're getting money when they don't. You see, they're able to get money without having to go out and do anything. That's the kind of it's a kind of a two-edged sword. This idea of getting money when you're unemployed should only, in most countries, it only lasts for 6 months. Then you have to go and re-educate yourself, or you have to go and get a job. You can't be
sitting on your bum all the time.
Career, making getting the dole a career. That shouldn't be. That's not good for a single person. It just gives them loads of time to get into all sorts of things, and then they look, the academics and the people who have this, that, and the other degree look down on these poor lads. Like if you go into any courthouse, you see a lot of the crimes that some young fellas commit. Like you'd see, holy Moses, did you think he'd get away with that? No, I would say another, because sometimes just to entertain myself, I'm being retired, I would go down to the courthouse and see what's going on. You might have 8 Gardaí stuck at the side. You have a whole load of plethora of solicitors and barristers, swaggering along. And, you have all this kind of unreal situation. And you have the judge sitting up at the top with about... costing the whole day must cost about 20,000 or more. That's not to talk about what it costs to put into jail. So it's not cost effective what's happening. You have about maybe 8 or 10 guards that have the whole day sitting around waiting to get called for the case.
And by the way, that's in every courthouse in the country. You've got guards. That's another big problem we have in Garda Síochána is a huge amount of guards on a daily basis are standing in courtrooms doing nothing. Yeah. When they should be out on the beach.
Then you have the paddy wagons bringing them from Castlereagh, either to Dublin or to Galway. You have all this going on, and it's like a little industry in itself. But does it achieve anything? You see, you have to...
I don't know, Lorraine, have you ever been up to the courts? Have you ever
Have I ever been?
Yeah, have you ever gone in?
I have been in them. I have. Yeah. I've seen them. I've been in them myself, but it is a double-edged sword. Like, what do you do? Like, as you said, build more prisons, because the ones we have are overcrowded. That's as you said, the judges are looking, going, I'll give you a suspended sentence, I've nowhere to put you. So at that side of it as well, they're looking...
Yeah, no, it's a thing like that the Jesuits used to say, give me the boy and I'll show you the man. In one sense, if you can get a child at a certain age, you can rehabilitate him or put him on the right path. But if he gets to a certain age and he's been tricking all along, he's going to stay tricking.
Okay, we'll stay there for a second. Let me just go to Steve as well. Steve, hi, how are you doing?
Well, Niall, firstly, what I'll say is this is a very complicated issue.
It is.
Secondly, what I'll say is you're such a snob.
Who, me?
You really are.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm for this thing from snobbing and fine.
I tell you why, because it's so easy for you to dismiss these types of things.
No.
What I want you to do is, just bear with me.
Okay,
what I want you to do is think back to your childhood. Now, imagine you're...
What age am I? What age am I?
13 and 14.
Okay.
Now, imagine that your parents were not the ones who adopted you, but it was a scumbag family.
Okay.
Say alcoholics. Maybe there was thieves in the family, drug dealers, whatever it be, maybe. Yeah. You grow up around that, and then you're going to adopt some of their behaviours. So family structure has a lot to do with that. Now, you go outside and, you're in school and you see all the good boys and girls doing their classwork, and you can't keep up with them because you have a shit family life. So the bar is quite low. When they go outside and they see gangs smashing windows, they go, well, I can do that. That's a low bar to set. I can get in with these guys. They can protect me. They make me feel like a family. They make me feel good. And then you start doing all of these stupid things, and you then get roped in by criminal gangs, like you mentioned earlier on, Niall. And these people get you to do bigger and nastier stuff. It maybe isn't in you from day one to be that person, but it was the fact of your situation that you were brought up in.
And by the way, Steve, I absolutely understand the point you're making. And somebody mentioned earlier on, nobody is born evil or born bad. I mean, it's to do with their upbringing. And I completely agree with you. But that's neither here nor there in the way we have to treat people in society and the way we have to reprimand people and punish them. And rehabilitate people. So if we don't, how do we rehabilitate? So let's say Johnny car thief, right? He's 15 years of age. He has a bad family, right? The whole lot. His dad's a scumbag. The whole lot. His dad's in jail. Actually, he's a scumbag, right? So Johnny car thief. So how do you deal with Johnny car thief? Do you just keep letting him off and giving him ASBOs or whatever you call them, JLOs, or do you put him in some sort of detention centre?
You reprimand them, the parents. You reprimand the parents because they're the ones that are ultimately responsible for him. And then you put him into some sort of care facility. Not a prison, Niall, not a prison. These children need love and attention. That's what they've been lacking.
They
their
need
entire
love,
life.
Lorraine. Lorraine, they need love.
Absolutely, of course.
Not everyone that comes up, hold on, Steve. Not everyone that comes up in a shit situation is going to go out and fucking rob a car.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Have you not been brought up in one of these areas? You know as well as I do, Lorraine, how bad these areas can be and how easy it is for these young lads to be roped in.
Not everyone that comes out of one's a fucking
No, you're absolutely right. The vast majority of the ones that come out.
But Steve, you're making me out to be a snob. I told you before, I was raised in Edenmore. Edenmore was a council estate. A lot of people in Edenmore, by the way, ended up in Mountjoy Jail. You know, there was a lot of undesirables, but a lot of nice people too, by the way. A lot of nice people as well.
The vast majority of people, let's stop calling them people, they're kids. The vast majority of children who end up good adults that come out of these rough areas will 90% of the times, and I'm just pulling the figure out here, come from a good family where they have good, maybe mother, father, grandparents, aunt, uncle, something like that. It's the poor idiots who are left to fend for themselves, who get themselves into so much trouble and they don't realise what they've done until it's way too late, that they have screwed up their lives. They have no direction in their lives. Please stop calling them people, they're children. These are kids who need help. That's what they need. Johnny Scumbag...
Would you be saying that if Johnny Scumbag at 16 years of age robbed your car tonight or broke into your house and smashed it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be prepared to do that.
You'd be on tomorrow giving out about and saying a 16-year-old
I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I would give out that he robbed my car. Of course I'd do that. That's a normal reaction. But would I want them put into prison? No, I'd want the kid helped. That's what I want for a child who's grown up, who makes a mistake. I want them helped, not punished. For an adult who commits a crime, I want them punished. It's very simple. Kids deserve a chance. I mean, you only have to look at communities. What do they say? It depends on how you treat your old people, your youth, and animals. That's how you gauge what a community is.
Well, it takes a village to raise a child, they say. Yeah, that's another cliche.
Yeah, and the way we treat our youth is despicable in this country.
I completely disagree with you. I think we give opportunities to people. When you look at areas that would have a lower socioeconomic background or area that would, a working class area, would say a high propensity of social problems.
Ballyfermot.
Yeah. Okay. Ballyfermot, Ballymun, Cherry Orchard, Darndale, or any of the other areas in Cork, Limerick and Galway that would have the same kind of problems.
I live in a council estate.
Yeah. And what they do is, in these areas, and I've seen it, there's more playgrounds, there's more clubs, there's more youth clubs, more box clubs. In other words, and the whole idea is, the more you can find for them to do, the less possibility of turning to crime. And I understand that. I understand the logic of that. But they still have a higher rate of crime. Even with all of those things provided. I mean, there's a limit to what you can provide to stop them getting bored.
Niall, hold on a second. I didn't mention the government here and what they implement. I said we treat children despicably. So coming on the air and talking the way people are talking today about young people who deserve a chance in life.
So what, are we not allowed to call a young fella who robs your car a scumbag?
To yourself, yeah, but not to his face, Niall. No, absolutely not. Here's something somebody said to me a long time ago, which was, don't let somebody's opinion of you become your reality. Because when that happens, Niall, you become the bad person.
But that's if you're not a bad person. I don't care what people's opinion of me is, because I feel I'm not a bad person. But we're talking about individuals who commit serious crimes. We're talking about an individual. Like, you take that young fella going back a few years ago who pushed that woman under the train in Hope Junction. Now, he walked away with a suspended sentence. He was about 15 or 16 years of age. Walked away. He could have killed that woman.
Killed her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'll ask both of you.
And he did it intentionally. His mate was spitting at her as he was doing it. Yeah.
He was a complete moron.
No, call him a scumbag if you want to. It's fine.
No, he was a moron. He was a moron for doing what he done. But I guarantee you, I can't guarantee this, but if you roll the clock forward 20 years, and he does make something of his life, he will end up looking at that situation going, what kind of an idiot was I?
Do you think
he deserves that opportunity?
But he intentionally pushed her under the train.
Yes, he did. Yes,
and he tried to kill her. So he's an absolute
They do stupid things.
At the age of 15 and 16, you should know right from wrong. That's intentionally trying to kill the woman.
Yeah, you should. You're right. You should know the difference, but a lot of them don't. Trust me, they're
definitely
idiots.
Because he spotted her and punched
It was his
her.
mate. I think it was his
exactly
mate that spat. Yeah, it was his mate that spat.
Well, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Do you think they knew that she was going to
for an accident?
No.
But yeah, here's the thing. The point that somebody who would do something like that or that type of crime, let's not focus too much on that one instant, but that type of crime, and then would get a suspended sentence or a JLO or whatever it is, and then at 18 years of age, it's wiped off their slate.
That's wrong.
Steve.
Niall,
come on.
I'm not talking about murder here. I'm talking about crime. Robbing a car, breaking into a house, breaking into a factory, assaulting somebody. Like, I'm not talking about beating the shit out of them where they have no teeth left in their head. I'm talking about small assaults. Absolutely, they should get compassion over what they're getting.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they are getting compassion now at the moment with the court
system. You can go out and hit somebody such a slap, and I'm going to give you a slap on the wrist, even though you were there and intentionally hit somebody.
Hold on. I think Steve is saying that we have compassion because they came from a bad background.
No, what I'm saying, let's say, no, hold on, Lorraine. What's your youngest child?
My youngest is 4.
4. Okay, excellent. Has your 4-year-old got a 4-year-old friend?
Yeah.
Okay, when he acts bold and let's say he lashes out and hits him, how do you treat that situation?
He's taken out of that situation. He's told he's bold and not to be hitting anybody.
Yes, and you teach him that what he is doing is wrong. What we're doing is neglecting these young lads and young girls to not teach them that what they're doing is wrong.
Hang on for a second here. You've just asked Lorraine about a 4-year-old. We're not talking about 4-year-olds here. We're talking about 16-year-olds.
Because, Niall, I would equate...
4-year-olds, you're thick. You know what I
mean? And you saying that 16-year-olds aren't thick?
But 16-year-olds know the difference between right and wrong.
Most of these kids who are in this situation don't have an education, for Christ's sake. They can barely
You don't need an education to know the difference between right and wrong.
Niall, do you know what? Walk a mile, you judgmental pair of arseholes. Walk a mile.
You're saying they don't know right from wrong, right? You're saying that they weren't brought up, they don't know right from wrong. They obviously know it's wrong to walk in front of a bus and kill them.
They do, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I didn't say this. I didn't say they didn't. I didn't say they didn't know right from wrong. What I'm saying, no, I didn't. What I'm saying is they are idiots. They will still go, I know I'm doing something wrong. Like me when I was a kid going, I'm going to put a brick through this window. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I didn't understand the severity of what I was doing.
Do you think if there was consequences to doing things like that? At the moment, there is no real consequences. A JLO, a community order, whatever it is, suspended sentence at worst. Mm-hmm. Do you think, at 16 I'm talking about, do you think if there was a consequence to you stealing that car or putting that brick through the window, that you might go to jail for 10 days or something like that, or some sort of detention centre? Do you think that would stop you from doing it?
No, it wouldn't. I tell you why, Niall, because you treat a person like a dog, they're going to act like a dog. Lock them up in a room, and I've seen it in prison.
So who goes to jail then? Because everybody in jail would argue the same point. I had a bad background.
Niall,
who goes to jail?
No, I will argue for children at such an age to be rehabilitated, to put them through programs that are put them in a place where they've never seen something before, like another child doing their homework. You look at integration in housing estates and how that works. You see the lower class people who are put in with people who have money, and all of a sudden the younger people from the lower class people end up better.
Okay, well, hang on a second. Let me go to Maureen and Breda before we finish here today. Maureen, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good. You heard Steve. We need to have more understanding when it comes to young people who come from bad backgrounds.
Yes. I heard that.
Yeah, you did. What do you think?
Well, I think it's just a load of rot.
Okay.
I think, if it's a petty crime, we'll say, going to the shop and you steal a bar of chocolate, you might lift a bottle of lemonade or Lucozade off a shelf or something.
Yep, fair enough.
But when you go down the road of breaking into cars, stealing cars, breaking into houses, attacking people, well, there's only one place to teach them a lesson, and that's jail or juvenile centre. Mm-hmm. No excuses. whatsoever.
So once it's a serious crime, you should be incarcerated, no matter what age. Yeah. No matter what age. Yeah. Once you're over the age of criminal responsibility.
No matter what age you are, you should be, because 16 and 17-year-olds know exactly what they're doing. I mean, we didn't do it in our day. They're far more advanced than what we were.
Well, some people did in our day.
Well, we didn't go to the extent that they're going now, Niall.
Probably, well, no, there's a bigger population, obviously, but probably, yes. I would absolutely admit that in our day, if you want to use the back in the 70s and 80s, certainly, people had a lot more respect for authority.
They did, yes. And they had a lot more respect for their parents. And back in the day, too, parents had control over their children.
So whose fault is that?
Which is not the case today.
So whose fault is that? Is that the kids' fault or the parents' fault and our fault?
It's actually the government's fault.
Okay, so the government's fault. So it's the adults who are to blame.
Yes, it is the government's fault because of the last referendum, on the children's referendum.
But it's not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, Maureen. I'm all for blaming the government for everything, right? But you can't blame the government if Johnny's misbehaving and you're not reprimanding him or disciplining him as a parent.
Yes, but you see, with the last referendum night, we were sick and telling people, if you vote yes to that, you're handing your children to the government.
Yeah, but we didn't hand our children over to the government. Yeah, yes, we voted yes, but the government are not going around taking our children. So what I'm saying to you, Maureen, you have to take some level of responsibility as a parent for your child's behaviour. You can't blame the government.
Yes, you do. But the government also came in and decided that, at such an age, you can't touch a child now, and you can't do this, and you can't do that.
Well, they said you can't hit them,
and you can't do something else. Well, you see, that's the problem. Because even when I was growing up, we even had a fear of the guards, and a guard wouldn't be long, coming along and giving you a good boot up in the arse and telling you to take yourself off home. And we'd have had the respect for the guards, and we'd have had the fear of them.
Steve, well, is that a fair point, Steve, that parents nowadays, because they don't discipline their children anymore, the children get away with it?
Niall, that's why I was asking the question. Because ultimately the parents are responsible for what their children end up like. Now, not in all situations. There are kids who come up in fantastic upbringings and just become arseholes. That happens sometimes. There is an exception to the rule. But the most of the times, the vast majority of the times, it's the neglect on behalf of the parents. So the child is suffering because the parent done something wrong. That's not the way it should be. Kids should all have an equal footing in life where they can, become the best they can become. And if they don't get that start, if they end up with arseholes of parents, Niall, we can't automatically blame the child and say, off to Oberstown with you, because you got a bad start in life. We have to give them a chance.
Okay, well, stay there. Let me go to Breed.
How are you supposed to give them?
Sorry, Maureen?
How many chances are you supposed to give them?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering
they're
until they're 18. Until they're 18, they can just keep committing crimes.
On 17 and 18 charges, and let's go.
No, my thinking on it was 3 strikes and you're gone.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, I mean, Steve, and I'm talking about obviously having wraparound services involved in that too, where you have community guard, et cetera, right? And kind of maybe some sort of courses or whatever. But in saying that, if a kid just keeps committing crimes, there are victims to all those crimes, Steve. You can't just keep letting them away with it. Because we feel sorry for the way they've been brought up.
The vast majority of times when kids are committing these serious enough crimes, Niall, there's ringleaders like crime gangs behind it, which you don't see. And these kids, you want to manipulate somebody to sell drugs, the best person in the world is an idiot child to do it for
Absolutely.
you.
I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about Johnny Scumbag at 16 robbing cars. You know what I mean?
Okay, and Johnny Scumbag is roped in because that's what he sees in the area.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Give him a rap on the knuckles the first time. Maybe even give him a rap on the knuckles the second time. But there's a limit to how many times you can catch him and not do anything about it.
Niall, put him into put him with a family out on a farm somewhere. Teach him how life should be.
Okay, so let me go to Breda. Breda, hi. How are you?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Yeah, put him on a farm, Breda, somewhere. I don't know. Relocate him into a different family, or I don't know.
Stop being so patronising.
No, I'm just saying, who'd want him? You know what I mean?
Patronising.
I wouldn't want him in my family.
How dare you?
No,
I wouldn't want him. Sorry, well, hang on. Let Breda talk there. Sorry, Breda, go ahead.
Listen, I think anyone that's a serial reoffender up to the age of 18 shouldn't have their record cleared. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing. And don't tell me at 16, 17, Stephen, they don't know what they're doing. They most certainly
Never
do.
said that.
Well, hang on, no, sorry. Now, I brought my lady up. I kept her off the street. I made sure she was kept busy and everything else. There's loads of clubs, free clubs that kids can go into in their teens and everything else, but they don't want to do them. They've no respect for their parents. They've no respect for people. They've certainly no respect for anything that doesn't belong to them. If they want it and they decide I'm going to get it, they'll just go out and they'll rob it. Sorry, but everybody.
And isn't your child so lucky to have you as a parent?
Yes.
So what about the kids? What
now who's being patronising? Go on.
No. And that's not being patronising. She is genuinely, unbelievably lucky.
No, hang on. To say that she's lucky she had a good parent is patronising because most parents are good parents. Most of them are.
No. Niall, I can guarantee you, I can look at the stats that 95% of these kids come from shitty families.
Maybe of the kids. What I'm saying is 95% of kids don't come from shitty parents. Most parents are good parents. Yeah,
that exactly.
But don't say that her daughter is lucky. Her daughter isn't lucky. Her daughter had a good mother.
No, hold on a second. Her daughter is very lucky to have a good mother. No, hold on a second. Do you not think she's lucky to have a good mother?
No, she'd be lucky if her mother was buying her a Ferrari and gold rings and bringing her off fancy shopping. Then she'd be very lucky. No, she had an average upbringing. I'm sorry, Breeda. I'm not trying to patronise you. An average upbringing, and Breeda is just a good mother. Okay, sorry, Breeda. Go ahead. Talk to yourself.
I worked bloody hard to keep her in her activities.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, but I could have been one of those parents that went, let her out in the road and she can do what she likes. You know,
and then whose fault would it be? If you were that parent? Would it be? Exactly. Yippee! There we go.
But hang on. Everybody that has a parent, the parent knows what's right and wrong. The parent lets them control. We used to have a shop years ago. And we had the most beautiful cars. People came from all around to get the cars because my daddy was fabulous at buying them. And they used to come in, and the little shits, and that's all they were, started bending the cars. And Mammy's looking at them going, now, darling, don't do that. Fucking hell. Now, darling doesn't work for anybody. And I used to go on and say, put that car down now. And they knew by my face and my tone. And I didn't care if the mother walked out with them or to send them in to amuse themselves while they went shopping. Sorry.
So they knew by your tone. So what you're saying is they knew by your tone, so they got something they didn't get off their own parents.
Yes,
which is guidance. And exactly it's the parents' fault. So, so hold on a second, Breeda. Between you and Niall today, such snobs because you came from great families, you have good kids, you are great parents, but there for the grace of God, if you didn't have any of those
no, hang on. You know, my mother and father struggled too, Steve. They weren't, 100% perfect parents. No, nor was I a perfect parent, by the way.
Were they baiting the shite out of you, Niall? Were they baiting the shite out of you?
My mother gave me a good hiding every now and again, yeah.
So hold on. So were you neglected? Were you physically abused all the time, Niall? No. So there's kids out there who are.
Oh my God! Can you stop talking for a minute and let somebody else speak? My father.
Go ahead. You're annoying me.
My father had nothing when he went to work at 15 years of age in Cavanagh's pub in Naas. He could see the stars through the roof. The poor man didn't even have a decent trousers, and he worked his butt off. And he worked morning, noon, and night when we were kids to make sure we had a roof over our head, food in our tummy, and whatever else. But he was very much of, you didn't cross Daddy. If Daddy said you don't do it, you didn't do it.
Exactly.
Now, my father came, but hang on, you're talking to people who have nothing. My father didn't have anything growing up.
I never said that. I don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that.
You said, no, hang on a minute. You said we were snobs, that we came from good families and everything. We came from hard-working people. Hard-working people we came from.
So, Breeda, let me put...
Yeah, my parents, Steve, were far from snobs, let me tell you. But my father worked hard. My mother was a stay-at-home mother and did a good job. My father had a job in Aer Lingus and he worked really hard to provide for us, but at times didn't have an awful lot of money.
On about how great
you know what I mean?
Are.
So, no, you're the one who keeps saying we're snobs. I could have very easily turned out very differently because of where I lived, but I didn't. Because I chose, I, as a person, as 14 or 15-year-old Niall chose to hang out with certain individuals and not with the other individuals.
That's absolute.
You don't know my life, Steve, because you're not me. I could have easily hung around with other individuals who would have led me into a life of crime.
Niall, you don't know my life because you don't know me, is what you said, and that is the exact argument I'm telling you with these kids. You don't know them yet. You sit there on your person.
Well, I tell you what, I don't need to know about them, because if somebody steals my car or breaks into my house or attacks my family and they're 16 years of age, I want justice. I don't want to see somebody come along and say, oh, let's just let them off with it now. It's not their fault.
Never said let them off. Never said that.
It's not their fault. God bless them. God love them.
You must have hearing problems today, because I never said that at all.
Now, let me go to Angela as well. Angela, hi, how are you?
Oh, hi, Angela.
Oh, how are we?
Yeah, Steve's in good form today.
Go
ahead, Angela.
Isn't he always?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Angela.
No, I mean, I don't think Steve is getting this. It's like, Steve, you don't have to come from a broken home or, home where the parents don't give a shit to have a 16-year-old little arsehole, right?
I said that already, Angela.
Hold on a second. Let me speak.
I said it.
Steve, what? Just stop talking. Please, right? The thing is, my parents brought me up well because I had a healthy fear of them, right? There are kids out there whose parents are trying their best, have always tried their best, and their 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds are only little shits, no matter how they're brought up. And they will go out and do whatever they fucking want right now. Excuse my language, right? Because this is what the problem is. There are too many out there going, sure, they grew up without a dad. They grew up without a ma. Their ma lets them do this. Their ma lets them. No, they're little shits. And that's what's wrong. They're not getting punished. There is no punishment for kids these days.
Exactly, so it's the parents' fault.
And Steve, the only thing I do agree with you on is you don't treat them as adults. For example, if an adult at 22 steals a car or breaks into a house and hurts somebody or whatever, they might get 5 years in jail. I'm not suggesting that for a 16-year-old, but I am suggesting that they have to go into some sort of detention or boot camp or some sort of retraining or rehabilitation to teach them the difference between right and wrong.
No,
right,
you know
exactly.
me, right? No,
hold on a second.
Steve, one
hold
second.
on. Let me respond.
Let him just respond to that.
I want to respond to what Angela said. Angela, you came on and reiterated exactly what I said on the show today.
No, I
didn't. You just said what I said. Yes, you did. If you had listen back to the show later on. I said everything that you said. I said that. I said there are kids who come from good families who end up like little shits for no good reason. But what I also said was the vast majority of kids who end up like shits come from scumbag families. And that's the bit nobody's getting. Where's my stats on that? Oh, okay, yeah. I can get you a ton of stats. I'll get majority. You yes. Right, Niall, what's the number one thing?
I don't think we have to look into the stats in it, Angela. I think Steve would be correct in saying that the vast majority of juvenile offenders probably come from homes where a parent lacks either third level education or has been in jail themselves.
Niall, what I'm saying is, just because you come from a broken home doesn't mean that you're
not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
No, it doesn't. Said that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you do look at the stats, and we have better stats in the United States, that the majority of those, I think it's like 76% of people who are in jail in the United States come from either broken homes, single parent families, or where a parent hasn't got a third level education.
There you go. The number one single indicator.
Stephen, let me ask you this, right? I'm sitting in my car. Breathe in 1 minute. I'm sitting in my car, right? I'm sitting in my car on the phone having a cigarette. There's a crowd of young fellas behind me from the estate next to me, right? That estate is fine. It's a middle class estate, right? And one of them gets a brick and fucks it at my car. And it damages the window and the back of my car. And they run home and the guards go after them, and there's no point in even doing the paperwork because mommy and daddy sat there and said that the child was in with them the whole time. Right?
Right, whose fault is that?
That's the parent's fault. That is the parent's fault, right? But what's not the parent's fault is that the fact that their child did it.
Is it not? Really? Did you know that child's circumstances?
Yes, I do. But
do you?
Hang on. Let Breda just respond as well. Sorry, Breda, go ahead.
You can't make excuses for every young one or young fella that does something wrong. But when I was
walk a mile.
Thankfully, I've never had.
Why are you saying walk a mile?
No,
in his shoes.
I've never had to, thank God, because I've always had a fear of my dad in a very respectful way, and I've always had a fear of the law. I mean, my biggest horror would be to hear that clank of a door closing in a jail cell. Oh my God, it petrifies me. The thing is, what should be done is they should be brought out to the Curragh, set up these boot camps out in the Curragh, and absolutely run the living daylights out of them and wear them down. And
treat them like shit. Yeah, treat them like shit. That's a great way to rehabilitate a child. Give them the one. Hold on a second now. Hold on a second. I'm going to finish what I'm saying here. You're telling me you bring kids out and treat them like shit. In other words,
that's not what she said, by the way.
What they've been. Exactly. Put them in a boot camp and run them ragged. That's treating them like shit.
No. What she's talking about is discipline. I mean, if you go back in time 30 or 40 years ago, children who didn't have the best education or had gone a little bit wayward, usually by their parents, were sent into the army. And the army would put a bit of discipline into them. I mean, that was quite common. There's nothing wrong with that notion, Steve. It worked. Actually, hang on all three of you, because I have to go to Niall. He's waiting ages. Sorry, Niall, hi, how are you?
How you doing?
How you doing, Niall? What do you want to say?
I wouldn't clear the records. I would not.
You wouldn't?
You made your bed, you lie in it.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. And I don't fall for this, he's a child at 16. Simply the fact you are not a child at 16, you are a youth.
You're legally a child.
No.
But hang
on, please. Let Niall finish.
I could list the rights that a 16-year-olds right now have in Ireland.
But they are still children, by the way, technically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean...
Under the law, they're a minor. They're under the age of 18.
Yeah, and it should be changed because, you literally have a right to work, a right to, have a motorcycle, a right to... the list goes on for 16.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call them a child. And the other thing is they know right from wrong.
Yeah.
And
they definitely do.
Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing that.
This sort of thing where we fall into this, he's just a child, he doesn't know what's wrong.
Nobody said that.
And
nobody said that. Nobody said that. I never once.
What you're saying?
You know what? Listen back to the podcast. I never once said they don't. I said they don't understand the consequences. They know they're wrong.
You asked about
You're giving a scumbag sympathy.
Stephen, you asked the difference between a 4-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Exactly, they're both
they
dumb.
Haven't a clue. No,
they're both dumb.
But the other thing is, Niall, can I just say with
I want to let Niall finish his point here because he's been waiting ages. Go ahead now.
No, I don't have any sympathy for a 16-year-old. Fucking no way, no how.
Okay, there's an argument. Let's say, Johnny steals a car, robs a shop, breaks into a house, all before the age of 18, right? And on each occasion, he'll get a JLO or he might get a suspended sentence at worst, right? So you believe the slate shouldn't be cleared. Now, the argument is if you leave the slate the way it is and he's left with a criminal record, he's not going to. He's going to stay the same way because it's going to be more difficult for him to get a job.
You made your bed, you lie in it.
Stop, would you? Captain Compassion there. Captain Compassion.
Can I just give my opinion on that?
Yeah, well, hang on, Angela, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. My opinion on that is, right, and I know you're going to say, I can't believe you're going to say this. If it is, I'm not saying any crime is minor, but if it's like theft in a shop, at the age of that age, you're young, you're stupid. If it's robbing a car, if it's robbing a house, give them 10 years. 10 years, and if you are not seen... No, I'm not saying lock them up for 10 years. I'm saying...
Leave it on the record for 10 years, yeah.
Leave it on the record for 10 years. By the age of 25, if you have not come up on the radar, and I mean so much as not even... There's nothing on pulse for 10 years.
Well, we do have that already. We do have that already. if you, for a crime like, say, robbing a car, if, for example, you don't have commit another crime within a 7-year period, it's removed from the slate. That goes for adults as well, by the way.
Yeah, but no, that what Angela just said. What Angela just said is a fantastic idea. But what I would say is, when they get to the age of 18, they have 5 years. Then after, if they don't do anything within that 5 years, then whatever they've done in the past, they can get it cleared. That way they can go to America, they can get a good job, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, well, you know what? There's a compromise that maybe we could all agree with. Sorry, Bree, do you want to say something very quickly? Because I have to wrap up.
I just wanted to say, how many of these young offenders that you want to expunge their thing at 18 don't reoffend the day they turn 18 or the day after?
A lot of them. A lot of them.
I'd actually say a good amount. Not a lot of them. I'd say about 20%. I'd say there's a lot of young fellas out there go out and get a job, realise, okay, they're not sitting on their arses on the dole, they're not going out stealing, they're not doing this. They go, they get a job, they can create a family. And I think if you can prove that up until the age of 25, I would say the age of 25, if you've shown you're holding down a job, you're not in the eyes of the law, you're not in anything, then go, okay. But only minor. I'm not talking about serious assault. I'm not talking about anything like that. If you do GBH, ABH, anything like that, that's tough shitting you.
Okay, listen, lads, ladies, Steve, Breda and Angela, listen, thank you very much indeed. And thank you to Niall as well, and to everybody who got involved in the show today. Some of your WhatsApp voice notes here. I'll just play one or two of these if I can.
Thanks, Niall. Love this show. Can't believe you have a podcast. Took me a while to find you after you left Classic Hits, but here I am now. Well, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to wipe that slate clean, you know what I mean? Give them another chance if it was on minor crimes and stuff like that. But sounds like you says, if it's anything to do with rape or murder or anything like that, yeah, definitely. You can't wipe that clean, so... yeah, that'll have to stick with them for the rest of their lives because they've clearly got problems from a young age. I think that's just a mental issue as well. They should be given help and certain things like that. They may go see certain counsellors and psychotherapists and probably put on different medication, or if they're just a dirty rapist, just put down, basically, yourself. Good.
No, you just have to define a child. Like 16-year-olds now, are extremely tall and they're big and they're strong. Like I have a 16-year-old, he's working full time in a quarry. Jesus Christ, no, he's strong, and he's about 5'10", 5'11". Daren't anybody put their hands on me now. I wouldn't let him go near them or do anything to them. But if he was to find out, like he's only 16, I'm just saying, he's so strong. All 16-year-olds are extremely strong. They're extremely agile, extremely they've no fear. A lot of them have no fear. And in regards of being a child, you have to define a child properly. Like my 16-year-old is not a child. Like he gets away with being 20, 21, 22 all the time. Just to let you know, Niall, that's all. I'm not talking about my young in particular. I'm only saying a sample kids these days, 16-year-olds, most of them are not children. Just to let you know. Cheers, pal.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That was the point I made to Steve. Not all 16-year-olds, by the way, look like children or act like children. A lot of them they almost look like adults. Well, they're classed as young adults, aren't they? By the way, don't forget, please do support the show. Remember, this is an opportunity every single day for you to come on the podcast, the only fully live interactive podcast in the country on a daily basis. That's your opportunity to come on. It's your show to give your opinion uncensored, and no matter what the topic of the day happens to be. And by the way, you can come on and talk about something completely different. Most people do, by the way, on a regular basis, as long as you kind of stick to the point then afterwards. But you can tell us about something else that happened too. We're always interested to hear your stories. If you ever want us to cover anything on the show, you can, by the way. The number is 085 100 22 55. That's 085 100 22 55. Or go to the website, the contact page, by the way, and you can send us a message there. Don't forget, you can listen to the show live on the website as well if you go to the Listen Live section on the website. But please do support us. We cannot operate this show without you. We've bills to pay, quite a lot of them. And as you know, I've mentioned a few times, we don't get paid for doing the show. We have our own full-time jobs as well. So as you know, I work on the radio. So we put our hand in our pocket every month to pay the bills because the subscriptions that we get don't cover the bills. Everything costs money. The light, the heat, the cameras, everything. All costs money. The production, the uploading, the hosting, the website, everything costs money. Costs a lot of money. So please do support us. We would ask you, if you can donate to us, please go to our website, niallboylan.com. You can click the donate button there. Or indeed, you can subscribe monthly if you want to. And for that, you can look back at all the previous shows we've done, all the videos that we've done. They are all on the website. So please do support us. Thank you to everybody who got involved in the show today. And let's all stand together, by the way, and support the people who are protesting all over the country. Don't support scumbags, by the way. Because remember, in all of those protests, there's a very small amount of people who are scum, who are just out there for trouble. And there are some racists who are out there for trouble. But the vast majority of people who are in Coolock, for example, today at the Crown Paints protest, who are out in Newtown, Mount Kennedy, who are up in Tala at St. John's, who are objecting to, those areas having too many people put into them because they don't have the services they should have, and that the government are not communicating with them. They're just voiceless citizens with concerns. That's all they are. We should be listening to them. Listen to the people. Talk to them. Don't talk down to them and don't talk at them, but talk to them. Communicate with them. That's what our government don't do. And when it comes to the current crisis that we're in immigration in this country, it's very, very simple. Deal with it. We have laws. If the laws are not good enough, make new laws. I shall talk to you again tomorrow at 12. Until then, have a wonderful day.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download from all your usual platforms.